So we're just visiting Michael and Lindy's home in Mareeba. Michael and Lindy's garden is very special because they've managed to do so much in such a small space, just a quarter of an acre. Hi Michael, hi Lindy.
Hello Emma.
Thanks so much for showing us your garden.
Yeah, so what would you like to know about our garden?
Well, this video is specifically for people who maybe aren't sure where to start or they're not sure what to grow. I know that you guys grow things that grow very easily. Yes. And intended for this climate. Yeah. So yeah, even if you could just tell us some of the plants that you think grow well or easily, that would be fantastic.
So this is 1,200 square meter block of land.
Yep.
We started on a block about the same size, and we couldn't grow enough food, and then we went to 20 acres, and we made a living off it, and we became certified A organic. And for quite a few years we lived off selling the produce, and then we found that it was too big, and we came to Mareeba on 2.5 acres, and we still found it too big to grow just our own food. So now that we're getting on in years, I like to do less. So my challenge now is to come back to where we started on just over a quarter of an acre and grow all our own food. So even though we want to grow all our own food here, I still have planted a few native trees at the front here for the birds, butterflies, for wildlife. And starting over here, most people look at this garden and they wouldn't know that there's anything edible here. But probably 3/4 of the things here are either useful. Everything's useful, even if it's for bugs or butterflies, predatory insects. So this here is a flower. It's not flowering at the moment. It's a daylily. It makes a beautiful flower, so it's ornamental. I call things that are colourful food for the soul. But it's edible. When it flowers, the flowers are yellow and they've got a beautiful flavour. This is a native tree, but it's got a beautiful fruit as well. It's got it's called a cedar bay cherry. This is a cabbage in the cabbage family. It's kale. It came up on its own. It's the only kale that we can grow here that self-seeds. But this is a great example why the bugs are getting it. It came up too early. So that does well right in the middle of winter. Like from now on, if it was to germinate now, most likely it won't get touched by bugs. So if plants get eaten by bugs, there's a reason. It's either the soil is not healthy, or it's the wrong plant for the area, and that's a perfect example. It came up too early, and it's getting eaten by caterpillars. This is the first fruit tree amongst the natives. It's a Mamie sapote, and here you can see young kale, which is called old woman's gossip cabbage, and hasn't been eaten because the last few nights it feels like winter. We've had temperatures down to 15, so that's the temperatures that they love. The next fruit tree is jackfruit. This one here, it can be used as a medicinal plant. It's called pandan. Also it gives rice, or even if you make a tea, gives it a beautiful flavour. And this little plant that you can see growing here, that is one of our favourites. It's a root vegetable. It only gets quite small. It doesn't smother anything, and it makes a big bulb, and it's sweet and crispy like an apple.
And what's the name of it?
It's jacama. It's come from Mexico.
Okay.
And here amongst this beautiful flower, it's a miracle fruit. It's very slow growing. The fruit is red, very small fruit. If you eat one of those fruits and then eat a lemon, the lemon becomes the sweetest citrus you've ever eaten.
Amazing.
It's the fruits are in big demand now for people that have had cancer, and they get treated by chemo or radium. They seem to lose the sense of taste, and if they eat one of those, and then whatever they eat, it enhances the flavors.
Awesome.
And some of these plants are just as ornamental, just for the bees, butterflies. This other plant that is coming up here on its own, I just pulled out this weed.
Yeah.
This weed is called blue top.
Yeah.
Blue top, I've been told that it's indication that the soil is low in zinc. So I pulled it out, so I put it back where it came from, because that's nature's way of putting zinc back into the soil. And this one here, it's we don't use many medicinal plants because we work on prevention by eating well, making sure that that the soil's got all the minerals, and whatever we grow on the soil that's mineral rich, I feel that we should get all the nutrients that we need. So we just keep healthy by positive thinking, healthy lifestyle, and healthy eating. And this is a herb called plantain. I've only used it once, but it's like a miracle. I had a bad wound on the shin, on my shin, and I chewed this up in my mouth, and then just made a poultice, put it on, put a wet handkerchief over it, and then a bandage, and overnight that wound was totally healed.
Awesome.
It was amazing. So
Amazing.
we always, you can see it's growing.
I can see you
even
have
in
quite a fair bit of it down here.
There's plenty of it
A
there.
fair bit, yeah.
And it's growing even in the lawn. It's really, really tough. It becomes naturalized very easily in our climate by just spreading the seeds. So these are the seeds. All I do is just spread the seeds around wherever I want it to grow, and it just comes up. It's an annual, it's not a perennial, so it just comes up when the weather gets a little bit cooler. And over here we got an active tree. This one's an active tree, which is a tree from the West Indies.
I'm sorry, what's the name of it?
Acre.
Aki.
Acre rice, salt, fish and spice, and the rum is fine any time of year. Have you ever heard the song?
I haven't.
No? Well, it's mentioned in the song, but in the West Indies, the fruit started flowering already, but the little fruits got stung by a fruit spotting bug, and they didn't set. So the way I remedied that is I'm going to introduce green ants here. I was just about to do it this morning.
Yeah.
So what I do is early in the morning, when it's cold, all the green ants are in their nest. So I cut the nest. They don't bite very much when it's cold. I put them in a bag and I transfer them to wherever I want them. So there's no green ants because this is a new garden. The green ants haven't arrived yet. Up on the other end of the garden, near the forest, we got green ants, and there's no problem with bugs. So it's the best predator. So I use green ants as biological control. I never spray anything, so I always try to find a balance by growing a variety of plants. Different plants attract not only different insects, but different predatory insects. At the back here, there is a very useful plant that is they use a lot in permaculture. What this plant is useful for is for chop and drop. Chop and drop.
This is our secret bottom layer.
Wow, look at this. It goes on.
So on this side of the rock wall that we built, we've got a lot more vegetables as well. You want to come along here? So we've got rosemary there. The rosemary grows really well on the edge of a rock wall because it likes to be really, really well drained.
Yep.
And you normally wouldn't be able to grow pawpaws in this heavy clay soil that we have here, but because it's on the edge of a retaining wall, we've already got pawpaw setting. Here we have Brazilian spinach, and that one needs to be cooked because it has oxalic acid in it. We've got a black sapota here. You probably saw the mint on the other side, did you?
Yes, I saw some mint on the other side too.
We've got comfrey here, growing really well. We've got animals eating passion fruit.
Yep.
And at the end here we've got a tree lettuce, and we've got the mushroom plant that likes shade, and then we've got a bit Lebanese cress. This one over here, it can grow in water and it likes shade or semi-shade, and it's called Lebanese cress.
And you can eat that fresh.
Yes, eat that raw.
Lovely.
Yep. It can grow in water as well.
Awesome.
Just cut that. And down here we have just one little more bit. So here we have vanilla. This one.
This is vanilla.
But I think it needs pollinating, and it's quite complicated to process.
Okay.
And down here, through here, so here we have two types of taro. We have Cancon here, which is a water plant, also grows in soil. Then we have Brahmi.
And this, you can eat this one too.
You can eat this one fresh.
What's it called?
Cancon.
Kencon.
Yep. And one is Brahmi and one is I can't remember the other one. The name. But,
This is the one down
they're
here?
both edible.
This one here?
Yeah, they're for the brain.
Okay.
Go to cola.
Go to cola,
One
that's
is Brahmi and one is go to cola.
it. Okay.
I think this one's go to cola.
That's the go to cola there. Yeah, I recognise it.
And then we have Lebanese cress also on that side.
Lebanese cress. And this is a creek that you guys have running through the back of your property.
Yeah, it's overflowed from Tinley Dam.
Okay.
That's
So,
it.
thank you so much, Lindy.
So when it's yellow and blotchy,
Yeah.
then you just put your finger in it and you can open it up like that
Yeah.
and take it out, and then you put it under high pressure hose with your finger over the end of the hose, and that's to make it a lighter colour, and all
Loofah.
this
Yeah.
and all the suds come off it, so it's got a natural, seems to have a natural soak.
Amazing.
And if you don't wash it, it just dries a brown colour.
Okay, and if you want to eat the loofah when it's, you have to eat it when it's
Yeah,
small.
If you want to eat it when it's small,
Like a
about that
zucchini.
long.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
But at this point, obviously, you can't eat it, but you
No.
can use it for
This is
shower
fun.
and...
And you can wash your plates with it.
Okay.
You can scrub your car with it, whatever.
Fantastic, fantastic.
And over here,
Yeah,
we have some beans.
Yeah.
The season for them.
Oh, we'll say, snake beans, they grow better in summer. So from now, this will be the end of the crop of the snake beans, and then we'll change to the normal green climbing beans and the flat beans, all the flat varieties.
okay.
And so I just wanted to explain something,
Yeah,
is that when you're picking beans, you either have to hold it here and twist it off,
oh, yeah, hang on, I'll get that on here. Yep.
because that's the next flowers. That's the next
I
bean.
I see.
So if you're having children pick your beans,
Yeah.
they'll probably pull off your next crop.
Yeah,
So here we have...
so you twist it.
You
Okay.
twist it, but
Okay.
what I do is just cut it off.
You snip it.
I
Okay.
just cut it off like that. I'm using secateurs because we have green ants as guards.
Yes,
So
I noticed them on
in the
my
last-
hand when I
in
touched
the
the
last
bean.
couple of years, this new bug has arrived for beans, that
Yeah.
they suck the whole bean dry.
Okay.
But now with these green hands, you can see they're protecting all the beans.
I never knew green ants were so incredible.
They're our
You can
soldiers.
see them all over there. Wow.
And so it's easy for me to pick them with secateurs, otherwise I'll get bitten.
Yep.
This is a snake bean.
Great.
This next thing, Emma,
Yeah.
this next vegetable,
Yes.
it's a very nutritional vegetable, much loved by children especially. That part is really sweet. It's called sweet leaf.
Oh, yes,
So
sweet
this
leaf.
part, even the stem is nice and tender. And the person that introduced it to Australia said that the young shoots about 40% protein.
Incredible.
And the more mature leaves are well over 30%. So
Incredible.
it's a very nutritional plant.
These are the seeds.
And
seed
these are
pods?
the seeds that you can eat. So now that the weather's turning cool, they start producing lots of fruit.
Okay.
And they'll make very few little shoots.
Okay.
In summer they grow a lot of shoots, so we can eat a lot of leaves in summer, and we can eat a lot of peas in the winter time.
Okay.
So
I've never actually tried sweet leaf. Would I eat them like this? Or do you have
once
to
they
do
start
something?
going a little bit pink,
Yeah.
they start going tough.
Okay.
So the green ones are the nice tender ones.
Okay.
So if you want to try some now or
Yeah, I'll try one, the
take
green
them
one.
later,
Thank you.
they're really, really delicious. And this is a very useful plant. It can be takes very easily
Oh, it tastes amazing.
from a cutting.
Yeah.
And then you have sweet leaf for many, many years. This is another green that's poking through the fence here.
Yes.
This one here is a salad mallow, and these are the seeds. So this one's an annual. So this time of year, when it starts getting cool, it makes thousands of seeds. And then the next season, when the weather warms up, they just naturally come up. So
And
that-
what do you use this plant for?
that one is good for salads, the same
Yeah.
as the sweet leaf.
Yeah.
But any green that can be eaten raw can also be cooked. So if someone
Cooked, yeah.
wants to make a soup or an omelette, and this is our first pawpaw tree,
And what was the name of this one? Sorry.
salad mallow,
Salad
or
mallow. Okay.
or another name for it is Egyptian spinach.
Okay.
And this is our first pawpaw tree that starting to produce.
Wonderful.
So that's a female pawpaw. Pawpaws come in males, females, and bisexuals.
Okay.
So if you've got females, you really need a male, and with bisexuals, you don't need.
You don't need
you
another one.
The female. And along here we've got a mint. Mint is growing happily with the Moses in the cradle. And there's a tomato there that I'll tie to the fence. Another bean is coming up there now, and that's a black sapote on the other side.
Black sapote.
And this
Fantastic.
is a basil that we use, perennial basil.
Yeah.
So one of these plants, you'll have enough basil. You'll never eat it out. So even in someone that lives in an apartment and they just have a balcony, if they've got one of these basil plants, they'll have basil. If you got mint in a pot and you got this in a good sized pot, you've got a good variety of.
All your plants seem to grow very, very well, very healthy. Is there a secret? Do you just build the soil up with the cow manure that you showed us earlier?
I'll just tell you, I've got a list here. I can show you the list of
Okay,
things
then.
that I've added to it.
Okay.
And this is another very valuable medicinal herb. It's comfrey.
Down here, yeah.
Comfrey. And as
Yeah.
you can see, it's growing under the trees. It only gets
Yes.
the morning sun. So with a lot of plants, the key to growing them well is not only having a healthy soil, but giving them the right environment. A
Yeah.
lot of the plants like some shade. If you can shade them from the afternoon sun, most plants will love that.
Right.
So we're lucky here that the sun sets on behind these trees.
Yeah.
So everything along here that likes a bit of shade, as you can see, is thriving.
Yeah.
So some plants like good drainage, like that one, comfrey likes good drainage and shade. That's why I planted it on the edge of the retainer wall,
Yeah.
because all this block is clay, like pottery clay.
Okay.
Things that's why the pawpaws are planted on the edge. I planted a few more young ones. The pawpaw won't grow in pure clay because it'll die. It likes really good drainage.
Okay.
And that plant with the red flowers, that's just an ornamental. It's just a very pretty thing.
Yeah.
But growing next to it, like this one, it's a mushroom. It's called a mushroom plant.
Okay.
And it tastes like mushroom.
Oh, really?
People don't, but at first they don't believe, and then when they try, oh, it tastes like real mushroom. And
Do you cook it or just eat it fresh?
it's really tender. It's really tender, so there's no need to cook it. It's got a beautiful flavour. It just breaks up when you chew it. Even a baby or an old person with no teeth would be able to chew this. So it's excellent. And here on the fence, if we were to plant, dragon fruit on a fence like this, it would knock it over. The weight of it after a while. So I put some of these pipes, galvanized pipes on top to support the weight.
Yeah.
And this one's starting to spread over, as you can see.
Yeah.
And it'll be supported by that pipe. And there's a fruit there.
There's fruit there.
So the
Dragon fruit.
also fruit very quickly, within
Okay.
12 months
Okay.
or just over 12 months. They usually start fruiting. And here's another passion fruit that started growing on the fence.
Yeah.
But I purposely let it go onto the native trees.
Onto the trees.
And the best way to harvest passion fruit is when they drop naturally, like this one.
Okay.
So passion fruit come in many shapes and forms. We mainly grow the yellow egg-shaped one. They're usually very tasty and sweet. And we got a purple one as well that's also very sweet and juicy. There are many others, but some of the varieties won't grow here. They'll grow better. Some will grow better on the colder climate, and some will grow better on the coast. But these are the two most suited ones for our area. And this is an amazing vegetable. This one here is some bung spinach. So anytime we use some, we just harvest the tips like that, take the leaves off, and we can cook that or just cut it up and add to the salad. It's got a lovely flavour. The one back here is related. This one here is Okinawa spinach, but it's purple underneath. So it's got
Beautiful.
it's really pretty. It's got a totally different flavour, but it's got the same growth form. So they're sort of spread quite a bit. So these plants are really suitable also for growing in a small area, even on a patio or balcony.
And what was the name of this one with the red flowers?
That one is sambang spinach, and this one Okinawa spinach.
In Okinawa. Okay.
And the next one up is we got two different types of ibicas. This one here, it's got really big leaves. They're terrific if you want to do roll-ups. You can do a roll-up whether it's green or if you can just steam it, and then you can put rice in there. You can put tahini, butter, whatever people like. They can just roll it up in there. Put carrots, tomato, and this one here. It's my favourite. Most ibicas are more suited to be cooked because they are slimy, and the slimy texture disappears when you cook it.
Okay.
But this one here is my favourite to eat raw.
Okay.
It hardly has any slimy texture in it.
Yeah.
And it's got beautiful flavour. So sometimes when I do a bit of grazing, I go for this one here. And it's a more compact form, that one there. Doesn't grow as big and as rampant as the other varieties. Oh, if you want to see what we're doing for our new house, we made this, set this morning. Yeah. These are wine bottles. Set them in. I've got some formwork. Set them in cement. So then, this one is actually for stone wall that we're building. Yeah. I'll just pick it up and put it instead of a rock. I'll place that. Great. That one also for a stone wall, but that one is suited for the block house. Okay. And we've got many more inside the little shed. So when that dries out, we'll give it to the bricklayers, and as they're laying the block,
that's great.
Instead of laying, that's exactly takes up the space of 2 concrete blocks.
Okay, so it saves you money, it insulates and it lets light in.
Yeah,
so it has
and
many
it's
purposes.
a decorative thing.
And this is beautiful.
And Lindy and I had a lot of fun.
Wow,
and this
look
one,
at that.
And this one here is going on a rock wall.
Wow.
So I'll just set it there and just put rocks around it and then rocks behind it.
Okay.
So we've been having a lot of fun with those. And some bottles I've had to cut. I've made up a contraption here to cut with the angle grinder. About ginger. Ginger, some people recently asked me about planting ginger. And I say don't plant it now because it won't germinate until after the winter.
Okay.
You can see how that's going a bit yellow now.
Yeah.
And it's looking quite droopy. That is what it's supposed to do. As soon as the cold weather comes, which in the last 3 nights we've had 15-degree temperatures, it starts to go dormant. So the top dies, and when it's totally dead, that is, you can harvest ginger now, but it's not fully mature. When the plant dies, all the goodness goes to the rhizomes, and that's when they get the fattest and they store the longest amount of time when the plant dies. So that is natural for it to die. And then the best season to plant it is at the end of winter or the beginning of spring. But depending, if like on the coast where it's warmer, it can be planted a bit earlier. But it doesn't really matter because it'll just come up when it's ready. If you plant it a little bit early, it might just take a lot longer to come up. And this is a beautiful fruit tree. It's not a big fruit tree, quite slow growing. It's in the mangosteen family. The purple mangosteen won't grow in our climate.
Yeah.
It doesn't like the cold weather. And but this one here is very similar tasting to the purple mangosteen. It's a yellow one, about so big. It's called a cha-cha. And it likes some shade. That's why I planted it under the wattle. So from about 10 o'clock in the morning, it gets some shade, and it's looking quite happy. And here is some ginger. I'll just show you what it looks like. I'll just pull a bit out. So normally when it starts maturing, it makes a beautiful flower. And this is the ginger, but as you can see, it's not fully mature yet. It'll get a little bit fatter than that once the plant dies. So once the plant dies, all the goodness goes into the rhizome, and then a lot of these roots too will fall off very easily. That's a lot easier to harvest when the plant goes dormant.
Okay.
And so ginger loves shade.
Okay.
If you plant it in the sun, like I did the first time, it doesn't even poke out of the ground.
Okay.
And and this is the purple passion fruit. So this is how we harvest it. We just look on the ground every couple of days or so, and it's growing up the wattle tree. So passion fruit grow much better. It started growing on the fence, but it'll grow. Any vine will grow better on a tree.
Okay.
And passion fruit is fine to grow on a tree because the fruits don't have to be harvested. They drop when they're ready. Where a choco, you really need to harvest it. So choco, for instance, will grow well on a tree too, but it's better to plant it on a low tree where you can reach. And this is another chop and drop, another plant to chop and drop, but it looks too beautiful at the moment to just harvest and mulch a fruit tree with it. And starting to make, this is the first time I've grown this particular legume. It's similar to the pigeon pea. It's got the same growth sort of behaviour, a bit more compact, and probably even prettier flowers. And this is very exciting. This is a Rollinia, and it's got fruit already, and it's been planted out 1.5 years ago. Rollinia can fruit all year round. It always seems to have flowers. You already looked at the flowers?
Yeah.
Yep. And so this is turmeric, orange turmeric.
Sorry, I'll come over here. Orange turmeric, yes.
This is.
Oh my goodness, look at
this
that.
Is a clump. That look, isn't it pretty?
Very amazing.
So the orange turmeric is more mild than the yellow one. The yellow one is a bit bitter, So turmeric again, it's similar to ginger. It does like a bit of shade, but it'll tolerate sun. It'll tolerate it. Doesn't love it,
Yeah.
but it'll tolerate it. And it's the same with turmeric. If you want to harvest it any time of year, you can harvest it for your own use. But if I was to sell it, like we used to sell it at the market, I used to wait till when the plant died, the same as ginger.
Okay.
And that I get the most value out of it. But that looks pretty mature now, and it always lasts longer as well.
Yeah.
When it's harvested at the right time.
Okay.
And then if you harvest it with the moon as well, that's supposed to help as well. On here's a bean, Madagascar bean. It's a very long-lasting bean.
Yeah.
And we had a crop months ago, and for a while through summer it didn't fruit, and now it's starting to fruit again. So there's the beans and the little flowers there, the
Yeah.
delicate little flowers. So that's a really good bean for cooking.
Okay.
Oh, I'll show you the this cassava. Cassava is just an amazing food. I mentioned it before. It starts out with the cutting.
Yeah.
You just put one of these cuttings. Cassava is the hardiest plant. Every cutting that I've ever planted strikes. There's
Incredible.
never any failures.
Awesome.
So it's great for beginners because they get a lot of encouragement. They get 100% strike. And so Lindy's got some cuttings there ready. And this is what cassava looks like. You just peel that. It's got a thick skin that's quite easy to peel. That's just a baby one. And I'll show you this one here. What I've been doing is I started harvesting from there. So every time we want a root, there was roots like this all around.
Okay.
So you can see the amazing food value.
Yes.
And so we harvest one at a time, and this is the last one now. And this is enough to feed a family probably a couple of times.
There's a lot of food in there.
And it's
Yeah,
delicious.
It's huge.
The only thing, it hasn't got a long shelf life.
Okay.
Lindy she's the expert on cooking. I don't do
So
much
with
cooking. Lindy can
cassava,
explain.
it has two skins, and the skin is poisonous.
Oh, okay.
So you cut it with a knife a long ways. Then you can see the two skins. And so then I get a spoon, and it comes off quite easily. So you got to make
Okay.
sure you get the brown skin and the white skin off.
Completely off.
Yeah.
Okay then.
And so then once you peel it,
Yeah.
if you don't use cassava within 2 days, it starts rotting grey. It rots from both ends really quickly within 2 days.
Okay.
So if you want it to last about 5 days, you peel it back to the white,
Yeah.
and then you've got to have it underwater in the fridge. And then
Okay.
it will last about 5 days.
Okay.
But otherwise, it only lasts 2 days before it starts rotting.
Okay. Probably means it's got very good food value because if it goes off that quickly, it must have many enzymes.
Yep.
Yeah, within it.
Yeah. So you can grate it and then mix it with vegetables and put it in the oven. It'll make like a quiche. And if you grate it and put sweet stuff with it, like honey, apple, sultanas, and put it in the oven in a dish, it will become like a cake because it's very,
Wow.
very high in starch.
Okay.
Yep.
This is the irrigation that we are using
Yeah.
in this garden, which is a drip line, and it's dripping at the moment.
Yeah.
So there's every 400 centimeters, three or 400. I'm not
Yeah.
sure whether this one. They normally come in 300 or 400 spacing, and it's the most beautiful way to water. It doesn't compact the soil.
Yeah.
It soaks right in. There's no runoff,
Perfect.
and even if it's windy, doesn't get it all blown away like
Yeah.
some sprinklers. So that's that.
And you leave that on all the time?
I leave that on about 4 hours, 4
Okay.
hours at a time.
Okay.
But I always tune in. You know, if it's really dry, depending on the conditions, you know, I might leave it a
Yeah.
little bit longer,
Yes.
and I might water once a week, no more than once a week. And now coming to winter, I might water once every couple of weeks. But I always look at the plants. I wait until the plants ask me that if they need a drink.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so it's not a good thing to plant a really high water requiring plant amongst plants that don't need much water, because
Okay.
then I would have to water the one
Of course.
I have to overwater.
Yeah.
So if something needs a lot of water, then it's best to plant it somewhere else.
Okay.
And this is another spinach, leaf ginseng it's called, or Chinese spinach.
Yep.
And that's a very succulent leaf, very tender to chew. Again, someone without teeth could chew that. And that is so hardy. You can propagate this, every cutting will strike, and then it comes up from seed as well. So once you got one of these plants, it just keeps on coming up,
That's
either
fantastic.
from a branch that falls on the ground or seeds.
And you can eat the flowers as well.
Amazing.
And over here we've got the same snake beans. We've got them getting protected by a new ant that we haven't seen before. Let's see if I can find it there. This big ant here is protecting the beans on this side. You'll find one on every bean.
Yeah, amazing. There is one on every bean as well.
So if you want to
Incredible.
keep seeds of the beans, you have to wait till they dry out.
Okay.
So they've got to be at least this dry or more. So you can pick it at this stage and put it under cover. And then in a week or two, then you get the seeds out and store them in the refrigerator if possible.
Okay.
Any seeds that get stored in the refrigerator, they last a lot longer because they're not getting hot, cold every
Yes.
day.
Yeah.
And so they'll last a lot longer. Well, here's that big ant.
That's not a green ant. That's another kind. of ant.
No, we don't even know what this one is yet. It just loves these beans on this side
Okay.
of the garden.
As you can see, Emma,
Yes.
by having a big diversity of plants, we find I always get excited when I start a new garden, because I don't know what's going to come. So like Lindy just showed you, an ant that we haven't seen before, and already we've noticed so many different types of ants. When we first bought this block, it was lifeless. There was no earthworms. Like now, you can see there's earthworm castings on the ground, even where I haven't fertilized. So it's a great sign that life is coming in to the soil. So for me, if I walk anywhere, I can tell just by walking on the soil if it's really, really hard on the foot. It's compacted, there's not much life in it. But as soon as life starts coming in, so what I've done here to encourage worms, I actually brought them in. I brought many types of earthworms in. I introduced them myself, and also I introduced microbes. And the way I've introduced the microbes into the soil is from compost that I made myself. It's it was full of earthworms and full of microbes. And also, I have gone to the rainforest and harvested some material with mycelium and microbes. So to make sure that every type of beneficial microbe is here, I got it from my own system that I had established in 15 years, and I got some from nature, from virgin rainforest. So that's how I start my garden. And Linda, you wanna get that list of minerals? So I'll explain in a minute what we've actually the ingredients we put in here to get everything healthy. These are flowers that I just plant, marigolds. There's many different types of marigolds, and these are all seeds. So they're easy to. They've just been self-sown now. I love plants that are not perennial, the ones that just drop seeds and they just keep on doing their thing. So I really love that. Like I said, I don't like a lot of maintenance. So when plants, so what I do is I go around and if a plant is growing somewhere we're smothering something else, I might pull it out, or I might prune it. Like this one's growing over that sunbung spinach. I might prune it a little bit. So that's about all I do. So the only work that I've been doing in this garden in the last few months is just now and again, just doing a little bit of pruning, observing. Yeah, this is another citrus. It's a page mandarin, which is an early variety. Also a marcot that's been propagated from a marcot from our other property. So we've got 3 different types of mandarins. So we will have mandarins for about 4 or 5 months. And this is lemongrass. When it gets this big, what I normally do is cut it at ground level and use it for mulch. So I use it for chop and drop as well. So the sunbung spinach, as you can see there, it makes a good ground cover. So it's possible to have all edible ground covers.
That's incredible.
So a gardener is really, it's like painting a picture. There's not 2 people that would paint the same picture. So what I'm doing here is just showing my picture, and then somebody else can paint their picture. They can maybe borrow some ideas, but I think everyone should be artistic in painting their own picture, whether it's gardening, whether it's landscaping, whether it's building. This is Jabaricaba. So that makes beautiful little black fruits on the stem. And this plant here has come up on its own. So it's a bonus. And it's attracting bees and wasps. It's attracting all sorts of things. So I'm leaving it. So
Beautiful flowers.
you can see that it's feeding something. So what I love to bring to the garden is this diversity of insects and birds, and that's the reason why I plant some native native trees as well, because some native trees are particularly good for attracting butterflies and birds. And over here I've planted 2 custard apples together. This one here it's called a sugar apple. It's the hardiest and the most reliable bearer in North Queensland. I haven't seen a custard apple like it, and it's pest free. So I planted that one, and then a Chinese lady gave me this one here that makes a red custard apple, and it looked like it was going to die in the pot. So I thought I'll plant it here. If it dies, it's not going to leave a space. You know, this one can grow, and if it survives, the 2 of them can grow together.
Good idea.
They can sort it out. So I've never tried that fruit, and you can see even the new growth is a bit reddish, and the stem's a bit reddish, and the fruit is just so red. I've only seen a photo of it, and the skin is red and the flesh is red.
Goodness.
So hopefully it'll taste as good as it looks.
Yeah.
And here's another, making the pineapple there. And this is a lime tree. And this is a great example of planting a big variety of plants to attract a variety of insects and birds. Because this is prickly, see, finches have built a nest there.
Incredible.
Finches love building on prickly bushes because I guess it protects them from predators.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and this tree has also been planted out 1.5 years, and look, the limes are coming on already. This is the West Indian lime. We've already harvested some. They turn yellow when they're ready. And this is a guava, a heavy bearer, a quick bearer. This one started fruiting when it was after 1 year of planting, and it's very resistant to fruit fly. Because guavas, it's a favourite food for a fruit fly.
Okay,
but this one here doesn't seem to get stung.
brilliant.
And this is one fruit tree that is not happy. Not sure why. I've never planted this before. This is a big jaboticaba, and yeah, I'm not sure why, whether it doesn't like the climate, but it's not a happy tree. So normally when something's not happy, I investigate. I try and find out whether it's the pH is not right. Most of the time it's got to do with either pH or it could be quite a few things. One, pH is one. There's a few fruit trees that prefer slightly lower pH. The pH generally 6.5 is ideal for most things, but there's an odd fruit tree that if it's slightly higher, they just won't thrive. So it could be pH, it could be that it doesn't like the clay. Also, the other factor is at the moment it's in full sun. Maybe because I don't know anything about this tree, I've never grown it before, so I'll find what the problem is. You know, if I find out it doesn't like full sun, well, that's one reason. If the pH is not right, and also see if the clay, and if it doesn't like clay, I've got no option here. The only thing I can do is like raise the tree, take it out, put well-drained material and actually plant it higher off the ground. So that's one little thing that can be done. This is a type of, in the passion fruit family, called granadilla. They got the most amazing flowers. There's no flowers at the moment, but there's some fruits down here. So that's the,
Huge fruit.
that's the granadilla. That one there is it's got a good form. This one's a bit misshapen because I think when it was small, it probably would have been stung by a fruit spotting bug.
Okay.
And that's why it's misshapen, but
Yeah.
it's still big, good. And this is a plant, Queensland arrowroot. It's a plant that I use for chop and drop. They were about this high only a few months ago, or a few weeks ago. And what I do is just put it under the fruit tree and use it as mulch. So every time it gets to a certain height, I just cut it at ground level, but it's edible as well.
Brilliant.
You can use the rhizomes, peel it and use it like potato. And this is a soursop that's also 1.5 years old. And Lindy and I discovered some fruit and we were like yelling with joy the other day. Look, there's
Yeah.
a few fruits coming on already.
Wow, great.
So we're so excited that within a year and a half we already got quite a few fruit trees fruiting. And this one here is a bullock tart custard apple. There's also fruit.
How old is this tree?
This one's 1 year and a half.
So you got this block a year and a half. How long have you been planting here?
A year and a half is the first
It's
planting.
extraordinary how much you have going on and how big the plants are.
The first fruit is coming
Incredible,
on.
look at
So that's a bullock tart custard apple.
Wow.
It goes pink, the shape of a bullock tart and the size of a bullock tart when it's ready.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
yeah, this is the tool. This is the tool that I use for chop and drop. So when the Queensland arrowroot gets about this tall, I cut it at ground level like that. And sometimes I might cut them in half and then just throw it under the fruit tree like that.
Brilliant.
So it's the easiest way and the cheapest way to grow mulch. Grow it right next to the tree,
Fantastic.
and there's no fossil fuel been burnt, and not a lot of energy has been spent, and that part can be planted. So it just can be planted from a piece like this, and it just multiplies.
And that's arrowroot.
That's our
you're
Queensland.
using.
That's the Queensland one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's about it.
Fantastic.
We've done the rounds.
That's amazing, Michael. Thank you so much for showing
Did I
us all
show you
that.
this? Oh,
You
I
not
haven't
yet.
spoken about this yet. So Is that good, that angle? Or?
Perfect. Yeah, yeah, I can get that.
Okay, so you were interested before of what I've done to prepare this soil. The first thing I put on this soil was gypsum.
Mm-hmm.
Gypsum, it improves clay. It opens it up. Actually, what it's supposed to do is bind particles together, because the clay has got very fine particles. So it binds together particles, and it makes it more like fine sand. And then water can penetrate easier into the soil, oxygen as well. So on clay, the problem with clay is when it's compacted before it's improved, it's very little oxygen or water goes into it. But once the gypsum helps, let's say gypsum is a source of calcium, which vegetables and fruit trees are hungry for. They love calcium. And then the next thing that I put on the soil is cow manure, composted cow manure, and which is very cheap to buy here in Mareeba, and it's from the cattle sale yards. Crusher dust, I always love using crusher dust since I've been growing organically for the last 45 years. I've always used crusher dust because it's cheap material. So crusher dust deriving from basalt rock is what I used for many years. Now I've used, sometimes I still use that, and sometimes I alternate with the Quenkin. There's another crusher dust called Quenkin crusher dust. It's very light and porous, but also comes from volcanic activity, and both products, it's got more than 70 trace minerals. So crusher dust only has to be applied to the soil once in a lifetime, I believe. If I put enough of it, like I did, I put a whole truckload in the gardens that we just seen, and when the house is finished, I'll fill up the rest of the grassed area with fruit and vegetables, so there'll be no lawn, and I'll use up another truckload of crusher dust. So my wife thinks I go overboard when I start a garden, but then within a couple of years the garden can look after itself. As you can see, this one here, everything's vigorous, there's a lot of life in the soil, there's still organic matter, and I intend to cover it all with ground covers. So whatever grows here now goes back into the soil, and this system, I believe, can look after itself after a couple of years. It can look after itself just with a bit of pruning mainly. So the crusher dust, the gypsum, guano is an organic form of phosphorus, potassium, potash can come from, I haven't added any potassium here, but if we got a fireplace, and any ash, I will sprinkle it in the soil. So that's an organic form of potash, is ash. But the guano, a lot of the Australian soils are low in phosphorus. So one application of phosphorus, so what I do is I don't just use all those products every year. I'll check the health of the plants, and if they're looking happy and healthy, I don't do nothing. If they don't look healthy and happy, then I investigate and see what do they need.
That's great, Michael.
And then after you putting all those products just on the surface of the soil wasn't ploughed up or ripped up or anything like that. We put a layer of mulch on top of that. And I already mentioned that we've added earthworms, microbes, the fungi. What else can I tell you? You got any questions?
I think you've covered pretty much most things. Yeah. I'm really impressed, just because I always thought I would need more land than this to have enough food, but you've just shown us that you can do so much with just a small piece of land, just the quarter acre this is, isn't it? Which means that it's possible to do in almost all gardens. Most people can do this. It puts it in the reach of most people
Well,
now.
I thought the same, and that's why we sold our house, first house that we built. Lindy and I, we built most of it ourselves, and because we didn't know this type of gardening, we hadn't discovered all these vegetables and fruits yet.
Yeah,
So we thought we needed more land,
yeah,
and now we've come back to, because the smaller, the easier it is to look after, and the more productive it is,
yes.
and the more environmentally friendly it is. All of that.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and I love the fact that you don't need a whole heap of, you don't need to do too much work. It maintains itself. I love
Yeah.
that. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much, Lindy.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for showing us around today. She's given us a box of food. So tonight I'll make some soup.
Oh yeah. Since once you got even one plant, we can't eat it out. You know, it's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.